Foundation Friday with your host here, Greg Williams, and our great co-host, David Walls of the Family Foundation. David, first of all, welcome back, brother.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's good to be back with you.
Yeah, it's been a while. We got to tape one show. If you listen, you probably heard a repeat of that. We don't do that very often. Matter of fact, that may be the first time, I think, David, that we've done that, where we had to repeat a show. But and so I hope that you were able to hear that and share it. But you've had some interesting travels and got some more coming up. So tell us about how that's gone, first of all.
Yeah, no, got to visit some family, little R&R, and then also it's conference season apparently. No, been to some great conferences put on by some of our national allies. Most recently was at a conference hosted by our good friends at Alliance Defending Freedom. And just it was always encouraging to be around brothers and sisters of Christ from across the nation that are fighting the good fight, not just in the policy world like we were, but others in the legal and educational realms and other ministries and
media. I need to ask that because
actually they
figured there was.
There was media realm, and there was actually a good Kentucky contingent of some folks there as well. So
great.
Always
our friend Tom Fallbush, did he make it?
I'm not sure, and I didn't see everyone.
Right.
But our friend Lawrence Smith at the Kentucky Baptist Convention was there, and so just a lot of good information, and excited to see how the Lord's working all over the nation.
Yeah, excellent. I know you got another one coming up, so but we're preparing and hopefully getting good stuff to you to help you understand. I actually had a birthday while you were gone. I don't know if I should admit that, but I had a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. The great part about it was we had my brother was not able, he's in California, and his son, my nephew, is in North Carolina. They weren't able to make it. My brother's birthday is actually 4 days before mine.
Okay.
I'm 2 years older, but we have very close birth dates. And family was there, all my sons and their wives, and my daughter and her significant other right now that she's dating. And so my mother-in-law, my dad, my sister. So it was a good time that we just got to connect and enjoy. And, the days are getting shorter, particularly for my dad, as listeners know. And so it was a good time, and got to connect with them again, and always love that. It's great. So that catches you up on us and hopefully connects with you guys personally. But we also have another significant, probably a little more significant than my birthday, but we had an assassination attempt on a former president and a current candidate. What has been the feedback, or what have you heard regarding all of that, David?
Well, it's a sobering moment in our nation's history. I didn't see it live, but saw the video clips very shortly thereafter, and first we just have to thank the Lord for protecting President Trump. I mean, by millimeters. We could have seen assassination on live television of a former president, and very much could be the next president as well. And so, but certainly, saddened by the tragedy of the loss of life that we saw, and others that were injured. I was. In spite of that moment, I thought it was really a moment of courage for President Trump to see how he responded. I mean, it takes some gusto, some courage. You could kind of see his willingness to fight, which has been obviously a theme of his political career. Really, is a fighter for American values, for Americans that may feel like they've been overlooked in the economy. And so I thought that that was a powerful moment. And obviously the imagery of seeing him stand up after that and encourage the crowd after, almost losing his life, I thought that was a powerful moment.
I looked at my wife when we watched it like you did afterwards. We saw the clips. And I said, when he did that, I said, for good or bad, whatever, that will be the iconic clip.
Yes,
it certainly was. It wasn't no prophetic or anything. It was just very simple to see that and go, that's pretty strong. Because even if you weren't physically hurt more than the fact that it whizzes by and does that, and you were, as you said, millimeters away from death, because there's no way he could have recovered probably from that unless the Lord intervenes. But for him to stand up, there had to be some nerves going on, adrenaline and nerves, and going, is there another one coming? What do I do? Yeah. And he was willing to do that. So whether you like that or not, that was certainly there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just say, and I know he's we're in the RNC convention's going on as we're recording this. He's going to be giving his acceptance speech. I thought it was really powerful too what President Trump said, and he acknowledged that it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening, I think was his quote. And so certainly good to see his recognition that God was clearly protecting him in that moment, even though an evil act was taking place. And what a cowardly act. And certainly, we're not going to break this all down, but a lot of questions about how this even
what
happens.
What they knew, what they didn't know, those kind of things. Yeah, I don't know.
In the moment in which we live, but certainly another reminder that in so many ways the political rhetoric has just gotten out of hand in this country. We have, and you and I talk about these. There are deep differences in worldviews, and when we're talking about in the political context, the parties are very divided, have stark contrasts and issues, but at the end of the day, we are still all Americans.
And we're human beings.
And we're human beings created in the image of God, and we should be able to have robust conversations, debates on these issues without violence being...
That's the true definition of tolerance, David.
Right.
Again, that's another one of the words that the left has kidnapped and said tolerance means you have to agree with me. Tolerance literally means I can still get along with you. We can have discussions. We can work through things even when we disagree.
Absolutely.
It's exactly what it is. And so I also like, on both sides, we have to give credit to the call for civility and unity. Now, rhetoric is rhetoric.
Right.
We have to see who's
Actions
willing on both sides again, who's willing to actually, that doesn't mean we don't speak the truth, but we've got to remember that that's a human being on the other side and we care about them. We don't have to agree. We can strongly disagree, but we do it in a civil way and we still remember that we're human beings at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. And and for Christians to remember that God is still on his throne.
Absolutely.
And
Amen.
this is an incredibly important election.
Yes.
It's only gotten, it seems to be
more
getting more important by the hour.
Right.
We're going to be doing all that we can to equip and encourage Christians to get out and vote. I know you'll be doing the same, Greg. We'll be talking about that. But the end of the day, God is sovereign even over the election. And whoever wins, God's still going to be sitting on the throne. And that's the mindset that we need to have.
And we can trust that.
We should trust that while also leaning into the responsibility we have as Christian citizens that are still blessed to live in the greatest nation.
The freedoms that we still have. And it's interesting because you can look at what happened and go, is President Trump going to be a Cyrus who obviously God is communicating with and protecting, but he may still have some pagan thoughts or things like that? Is he going to be like that? Is he still the person? President Biden currently is undergoing some physical ailments and stuff that who knows what's going to happen with that. So we need prayer for all of them.
Absolutely.
We really do. And that's where civility and unity and true godly love can start.
Right.
Let's do that. I have my desire about who I want in, mainly because of the platforms and the policies, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we need to remember, above everything else, not only their life here and now, but their life in eternity.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the RNC. It wrapped up, as this goes to air, Friday, the 19th here, we are on July, that it wrapped up yesterday. I know I have some concerns about some of the things going on. What are yours, Dave?
Yeah, well, the main concern that I've had has been on the platform. And we've been involved with some of our national allies in an effort to encourage the Republican Party at the national level to hold firm to the very, very strong platform that they've had on the issue of life, on the issue of marriage, and just a host of foundational issues. And in the midst of this couple of weeks of a lot of almost chaotic news that's been going on that we've been talking about, there was an effort led by the RNC to essentially gut a lot of the language
and
that
Trump
had been
himself. Let's be honest, he was
yeah.
a big part of that.
Yeah,
Major
the
part
party.
Of it.
I mean, in a presidential election year, the party apparatus kind of wraps itself around who the leader is, and so. Very concerned that we've seen some of the strong pro-life language that's been removed, some of the commitments and calls for a national ban or a Human Life Protection Act, essentially at the federal level, removed from the platform. Some of this platform language going back to when Ronald Reagan was even before
40,
then,
50 years, yes.
And so concern about the weakening of marriage, and a removal of the biblical definition, the true definition of marriage, and just generic references to the sanctity of marriage. And so, look, the reality is there's going to be stark contrast between the two parties.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
The Democratic Party's having its convention later this month, and there will be no references to protecting sanctity of unborn life. I can already tell you,
marriage is whatever you want it to be.
And so look, there are still clear distinctions. But when we think about what party platforms, and particularly what the Republican Party platform has been, it has been a foundational, principle-led, longer-looking document, and up until this point, generally has resisted the temptation to reshape the platform around campaign priorities that might just be in the here and now. And so I'm discouraged that they've gone short-sighted when we know long term that these are foundational issues that we have to continue to fight for. But like we said, we're under no illusions that there still are very stark contrasts between the two parties on these foundational issues.
The problem I see with it, David, is that it's actually moving closer and a little closer, even if it's just incremental steps, to what the Democratic platform. Again, it's your choice as to who you vote for. But look at those platforms, because they too. I didn't always like Trump as a person. Still question a lot of things, but the platform helped hold him accountable. That's a big part of it. And folks, don't make me talk, because I do this all the time. The issue of marriage, you can't say we're going to uphold the sanctity of marriage in a platform and remove one man, one woman. Here's why: because the Democratic Party has for a long time said the government is what gives you and takes away your rights. The Republican Party is held firm on the biblical standard worldview as God is the one who gives those. We just want to protect them and uphold them. God is the one who ordained and sanctifies marriage. You can't have a marriage that's not of one man and one woman that's ever sanctified. Or you're doing it by the government, and that's not God. So we're moving that much closer. And I want listeners to hear and share that with others. We need to hear that. So quickly, Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals.
So there was another big update in the battle to fight back against President Biden's outrageous rewrite of Title IX that seeks to essentially erase women and girls in the educational and sports context. And so the Sixth Circuit, First Circuit Court to hear this case, and they have completely put the proposed changes by the Biden administration on hold. They were set to go into effect, I believe, August 1. So that will not be happening, at least in the states under the Sixth Circuit. And this court battle will continue, and I think they'll have full arguments later this year. So be in prayer for the Sixth Circuit. And there's other legal battles going on that issue. But as we continue to, unfortunately, have to fight across the country to push back against the way the Biden administration is using government power to try to undo legislation that was duly enacted, in this case, legislation to protect women and girls and their opportunities.
And don't forget this, July 30th, you guys are having a town hall at Anchor Baptist Church. We'll have some on that next week again. And Matt Lockett and Jennifer Decker, representatives, are going to be there. It'll be great to hear them. The Family Forum is on October 12th. We'll say more about that next week, but thank you for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord.